My name's Sam Toller. I'm the 21-year-old writer and director of Alan, an independent feature film that we made for £350 about a 17-year-old who thinks that he's peaked in life and that everything goes downhill from there. Think Skins meets Woody Allen. I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks on low-budget filmmaking, and today we're going to be focusing on post-production, getting your shots into the editing suite, and ways of upping the production values in post-production. 1. If you've got to the point of post-production, that means you've done the really stressful bit of filming your film, and well done. Just take a moment to look at what you've achieved, how far you've come, and be happy, but also think about how far you've come and the difficulties that you've overcome, because editing is a lot more peaceful, it's a lot slower, but it's a long haul. Editing can take a while, and you're going to need to be happy with what you've done and remember those achievements, because those are what's going to get you through the edit if it is going to take a while. 2. One really interesting thing to kind of experiment with in the post-production is sounds. Sounds are really, really effective in telling a story. And you can have an awareness with this when you're screenwriting and in the production as well. There's a bit in Alan where he goes into a shop and steals a leather jacket. And obviously I kind of couldn't find a shop that would let me go in during business hours, because that would be really difficult to get. So instead, I filmed it in a way looking down the street where you can't see that he's gone into a shop. It just looks like he's gone into something. In reality, I'm literally standing behind a wall. I haven't even gone into a shop, but I just changed into a leather jacket and then run out. But then by putting sounds on the top of it, by putting the sound of a shop door opening with a little bell and the sound of the shop kind of, this kind of closed shop music coming out of the closed shop, and then the door shutting and the music fading away, and then the alarm going do 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 as he runs out, you're telling a story with sound. And that can be really effective and a really, really good way of being creative in terms of cheap filmmaking if you can't get a certain location. Another good example is the car crash in Alan. Obviously, I did not crash a car. I just filmed it in a way where you don't see the front of the car, you don't see whether he's hit anything, but from the angle it looks like he's hit something, and then just using loads and loads of sound effects layered on top of each other, that tells the story, that convinces the audience that he's crashed the car. So think about sounds and how they can be used to tell a story. 3. So grading. This is like video coloring, changing the color of the shots. This is a fairly important thing in filmmaking. You don't need to grade your film, but often it can just give your film that quality that makes it jump off the screen. And also a lot of the time it can give it a certain style and an ambience. And that can be really important and really effective. Some great examples of that are films by Tom Ford, who used to be a fashion designer. So you've got Nocturnal Animals, which has a really good way of splitting between two different kind of storylines, and they use colour to show those different storylines. Another film by him is Single Man, which is about a man who is widowed. And he walks through life and everything is grey and bleak, but there's certain moments of his life that light up with colour, and through that grading you kind of see those moments. Again, Llewellyn Davis, that has a very kind of green, quite dark palette, which again gives that sense of a character who's quite melancholy and quite down on his luck. So really think about grading and the colours that you want to use in your film and how that affects the way the audience feels. 4. Talking about grading more simply, just the simple act of making a scene bluish will make the characters seem colder. If you watch any TV crime drama, you will see that there's a lot of greys, a lot of blues. If you watch a romance film, there's a lot of reds, a lot of oranges, a lot of yellows, because those are colours that are warm, and for a viewer, they naturally just kind of make the viewer feel like this is a warm atmosphere that I'm seeing, or in terms of a TV drama, a cold, stark atmosphere. So really just think about grading and the colours of what you're showing on the screen. 5. One really good technique that I would recommend to any filmmaker is if you go into exposure, you can do something which is called crushing the black. So basically that means getting the black colours in your shot and basically just crushing them. So for instance, to take someone's hair, and if you were to crush the blacks, it just means that rather than seeing each individual bit of hair, it just kind of turns that whole head of hair into one kind of black mound, I suppose. So what it can do is really give your film a kind of a boldness, which sometimes can really help. So just experiment with if you go into exposure and you usually have the white light, the mid light, and the kind of the black light. Just take that exposure on the black light down a little bit and just experiment with it and see what you can do with it. 6. Another thing at the other end of the spectrum is make sure you don't grade it too much. One just kind of common mistake that I make a lot in grading my films is that maybe I bump the contrast up too much, or I go, I want to make the scene a little bit cold, a little bit blue, but maybe I put too much blue on it, and then it looks less like a kind of really well-made TV crime drama and more like an alien film because everyone's blue. So really pay attention when you're grading to making sure that the colours that you're using aren't overdone, unless it's part of the style. I made a film a couple of years ago called Postman, which was like a superhero spoof, and I was experimenting with the grading and really high contrast, so lots of colour. And actually in the end I kept that high contrast. Even though it looked a bit weird, it ended up giving it almost like a comic book style, which obviously for a superhero spoof fits really well. So don't grade, don't overgrade it. Just keep it keep it at the right level, unless you're purposely going over that level. 7. In terms of sound effects, you can find a lot of these sound effects online. There are kind of sound effects websites. You could also record them yourself, like kind of Foley. If you've got a great sound man that you know, get them to do it, because that's a good way of getting individual sounds. But if you're lazy like me, you can find loads online. Or you can also use Final Cut Pro 10, especially. It has a really great bank of kind of sound effects that you can use in your film. And also just be creative. There's a scene in Alan where the barman goes to pour some Coke. Again, another example of where instead of actually seeing him pour the Coke, you just see him go off screen, and I've used sound effects to tell the story of him going and getting the Coke. But the sound effect there was not a sound effect of something being poured. So I used a combination of like glasses clinking, and a combination of it was something like some kind of mechanic thing from a garage. It was like a garage sound, but then also like a bubbling frothy sound, and I put them over each other, and that made it sound like the kind of one of those spray kind of like that. So you can get creative. 8. You can't use copyrighted music in your films. I mean, you can, but even putting them on YouTube will be impossible because YouTube will say you don't have copyright for that. So in your films, try and use original music, whether that's something that you've created yourself, or pretty much everyone these days knows a musician or someone who makes music. Or even going on YouTube, if there's someone on YouTube who you really, really like, who doesn't have, isn't famous but has like a good voice, get into contact with them and say, look, I've made a film, I'd love for you to record something. Just, again, it's building that network. But the key thing with music is that whatever music you use in your film, you need to have the permission of the person who created that music, and it can't be copyrighted. So really important, that one. But again, music is really key. So make sure you get the right music. Make sure whoever's producing that music is kind of on board with the film, or that you've really thought about it. Good films to watch in terms of music, and to see how music really is key to a film and really affects the audience. Amélie is a good example, a beautiful French film, Amélie. And Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is also another good film which kind of has quite good music, ambient music, which really affects you as you watch it, which is what you want your film to do and the music in your film to do. 9. Show it to people. As soon as you can, export it, kind of get a version that you can give to a couple of people that you trust and say, look, have a look at the film, let me know if there's any bits that you think I should get rid of, or any bits that don't work, or simply just to have someone look at your film and be able to go, oh, I've seen a boom in shot there, or there's a continuity error there, is so handy, because you have watched this film so many times and you've been so involved in it that it's hard for you to take that step back. So you need to give it to other people and let them kind of give you a bit of advice. And whether you take it or not is up to you, but just getting a second pair of eyes and a third pair of eyes and a fourth pair of eyes is really, really important. So do that as soon as you can. 10. In terms of editing, one really good tip is just cutting on the action. and just getting rid of as many pauses as possible. Even if you're, say you've got actor A and they're delivering a line and it's pretty good, but then actor B is doing a really, really good facial expression. Just making sure that you can cut to actor B even halfway through actor A's line, just to keep the scene flowing, and also this will save time and keep the running time of your film smaller, and that's always good.